Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, super sloppy sports and entertainment podcast that's hosted by a giant mess. That's me, the real cinch, Neal Lynch. I'm a former fourth-string college quarterback and mediocre middle relief pitcher with a film and media studies degree. Now I'm a single dad who loves to talk Giants football, Mets baseball, movies, TV shows, and comedy. On today's episode, we'll be reacting to Big Blues 20-17 overtime loss to the Carolina Panthers in Week 10 of the 2024 NFL season. I don't think we're going to be previewing the upcoming Bucs game. We're just going to be talking about the bye week, what needs to happen over the bye week, or what should happen over the bye week. So without further ado, let's get set up in here. Quick recap of the trade deadline. We didn't do anything, which isn't that surprising. People who wanted us to deal Slayton or Azeez Ojulari, I guess you're upset because we didn't get like a 6th round pick or a 5th round pick. I guess we were holding out for a 4th round pick for Slayton, 5th round or 4th round pick for Azeez, and it didn't come to fruition. It's not like they're eating up a ton of cap space. So, whatever. I'm fine with not trading either one of those guys. I think you can still bring them back on the fairly cheap. If Azeez can stay healthy, that's an incredible depth piece that can add to our pass rush once we get Kayvon back. So, and Slayton is our second best receiver. So if we can get him back on the cheap, relatively cheaper than what, he's going to be one of the cheaper wide receiver 2 options out there. And then you can add another piece, I guess, in the draft or free agency that to really take over that wide receiver 2 role. And then you have Slayton as a solid 3. And then Wan'Dale, I guess, is your 4th, although I don't really see a future with him. So yeah, trade deadline recap. That's about it. There wasn't much going on. I kind of thrown it out there, like maybe put it out there that Daniel Jones is available and see what kind of, you probably got crickets in response to that, but worth a shot, right? You're going down in flames. The ship is sinking. Why not? This was an interesting tweet I saw from introvert_Kurt on X. Shane traded back in 2022 to draft Wan'Dale Robinson instead of George Pickens. George Pickens had an unbelievable touchdown catch against the Commanders and had a bunch of big catches against us and just seems to have a bunch of big catches every week. Whereas Wan'Dale usually takes a 2-yard pass and gets like another yard. So good move there. He also traded up to select Deonte Banks instead of Joey Porter Jr. I think pretty much everyone across the board can agree that Joey Porter Jr. is the better corner. And then he traded up to draft Jalen Hyatt in the 3rd round instead of Cedric Tillman. I don't know Cedric Tillman's numbers, but I think he's got to be doing better than Jalen Hyatt at this point. So for everyone who wants to give Shane and Daboll another year, yeah, fuck it. Let's give them like 3 more years, right? They find their groove in year 7. That 2022 draft. I feel like we talk about this every week in evaluating and analyzing, and like Wan'Dale Robinson is just not a good pick. And I guess you could say the jury is still out on Kayvon, but like, I don't know. Evan Neal. Micah McFadden is probably your second best draft pick of that draft. And I don't know that McFadden's really a solid player, but is he a top starter? He keeps getting high PFF grades, but I don't know that he's really a difference maker. Bellinger's barely seeing the field. Woof, dude. 2023 draft. We go through this every week. Deonte Banks, not a difference maker. Jalen Hyatt, not a difference maker. John Michael Schmitz Jr., not a difference maker. And then this past draft, which, it's one of the best, highest graded rookie classes. Malik, Tracy, Newbin, Drew Phillips, like those are 4 good guys. You give Shane, based on that alone, you give him a 4th year? I I don't think Daboll has the pulse of the team. Like, people keep saying, I saw 2 polls on Twitter. Should the Giants fire Brian Daboll? Should the Giants fire Joe Schoen? And I think more people want to keep Daboll than they want to keep Schoen, which is crazy. But it was like in both cases, around 30% of Giants fans wanted to fire Daboll and Schoen. I don't see it personally. I don't see a reason to keep them around. This team is there's 53 players on a team, and it's more than one guy. And the majority of the other guys are your guys, right? The roster is predominantly yours now, and we're losing. And yeah, we'll get into the Panthers game, and you could pin it on a player if you'd like. Sure, go for it. So let's get into it. Giants Panthers. I watched this game in bed, severely hungover. It was my 44th birthday the day before on Saturday, November 9th. I stayed up till probably 2 a.m. I got done watching a movie around, I want to say like maybe 10 or 11, something like that. And I don't know if I want to watch another movie. I'll just go on YouTube and watch old Giants highlights. I watched old Giants highlights until 2 a.m, just reliving the glory days. I'm unable to turn the page. Like I looked at and I kind of go for a little bit of the deeper cuts. Like the 1988 season always kind of is like a big what if for me. And for a lot of Giants fans, like what if, we block that kick against the Eagles and we win that game, then we win the division, we go to the playoffs. And, we ended up not making the playoffs because we lost in the last week to the Jets. Boo. So it was just, I don't know. I watched that season highlights from the 88 season, extended highlights from 88, extended highlights from 89 season. I think I watched the 2000 season, the 2002 season. Yeah, I went through a bunch of seasons that was just like, these are teams that, 2000, we weren't expected to do much. 2002, we weren't expected to do much. And we ended up defying the odds and going to the playoffs. And, 2002 is we don't need to reopen that wound. But I mean, that's where I'm at. And I feel like I've been at that place every season for the past decade. It's like since 2012, like 2013, 2014, like every year, minus maybe the 2 playoff seasons. I find myself just going back and watching old Giants games and old Giants highlights to get some kind of good feeling about this franchise, because I just don't have it. And Godspeed to the people that believe in Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen and that have that kind of patience. Last week we talked about the case for quarterback patience, how seems like the age 27 season is a big turning point for a lot of younger quarterbacks that are drafted higher. And Daniel Jones is now 27. And so I gave, the last remaining people that are clinging to Daniel Jones as a franchise quarterback a little glimpse of hope with like, well, he's 27. This is where he turns around. And he's now a year removed from the ACL injury, which is when you start to see improvement going into year 2. And no, that's, I mean, you get, after watching what he did against the Panthers, it's just like, nope. Bobby Skinner from Talking Giants tweeted, I lost to the Panthers going to the bye week would really feel like a low point for this Giants regime. Would be 5 straight losses taking you to 2-8. Panthers are the worst team in the NFL. And you also have a 9-hour flight home. But he genuinely thinks the Giants win this one, though. Bobby. I bet his prediction was 77-0. Yeah, I mean, I really thought that even a close win probably doesn't give you a lot of confidence. It doesn't bolster or support that vote of confidence that John Mara gave in late October, we've lost 3 games pretty poorly and pretty badly since he made that vote of confidence and said he did not anticipate making a change in the offseason. It hasn't really improved, hasn't gotten better. I don't know. There's a lot pointing to keeping Daboll and Schoen again, unless you're saying, oh, well, the games are closer. These are close losses. Whereas last year we're seeing a lot of like multiple score losses, blowout losses, not being competitive in a bunch of games. Like we're way more competitive in these games and where it's closer. And it's like, okay, sure. I thought that I didn't really see us losing to the Panthers. It's interesting that you can hang close with the Steelers. You can hang close with the Commanders, 2 of the better teams in the NFL that faced off against each other and gave us a great game in the DMV area. The Steelers come out on top, and we kept it close with those games, those teams. And then to come out against a Panther team that had unloaded a bunch of talent at the trade deadline, they're the same record as us coming into this, same record as us, but yet they see the future and are playing for the future, and we're not. We're clinging to our past and thinking that what we have currently is a winning football team that's capable of making a playoff run. No, dude, no. Because you take away, say you have a different quarterback in there than Daniel Jones. It's possible you win this game, but you're not winning it. You're not winning it convincingly because you still have a defense that is not playing well. And I know that it's like an average defense with a very poor rush defense that's unable to get turnovers. So the defense, great. We made improvements on defense, but we're still not to the point where you have to think like, I don't know that you're confident in that defense. It's not the 2016 defense. Maybe it's certainly not the 2000 or 2002 defense. I mean, it's a far cry from our playoff seasons. It's a far cry. So it just doesn't seem like we're getting better. But yet again, I think, you look at the team stats, we had 24 first downs to their 15. We only allowed 2 sacks. We only got 1 sack. Net passing yards, we outgained them in net passing yards. We outgained them in total yards. Same amount of fumbles lost. But, DJ throws the 2 picks and Bryce Young doesn't throw a pick. We only had 3 penalties. Panthers had 10 goddamn penalties. We converted more third downs. We had more time of possession. About the same average yards per play, but yet we're down 10-0 at halftime. 10-0 you're down at halftime to the worst defense in the league. It's the second time we've been shut out in the first 2 quarters of this season. First was against Cincinnati, which the Bengals have a far superior defense, but the Panthers do not. This was the Giants' 3rd overtime game in Brian Daboll's 3 seasons as head coach. We tied Washington in 2022, lost the Jets last season. Game that we should have won, just like we should have won the game in 2022. Giants are 23-18-3 in regular season overtime games since they were instituted in 1974, including 13-7-2 as visitors. This is our longest losing streak since dropping our final 6 games of 2021 when Joe Judge got fired. So, and Panthers have their first win streak since week 3 of the 2021 season. So I don't understand why, and there are multiple, and people, I think we're all aware of the multiple reasons why Daniel Jones is still the starter. At least we understood it. Most of us understood it for the first half of the season. But after a game like this, after a performance like that, there's really no reason to start him anymore. I mean, I can't imagine going to John Mara and him saying, hey, do you still want Daniel Jones to start? And him saying yes. I cannot imagine that. I can't. It's fine. At this point, a lot of people were shocked that, after that first red zone interception, after missing that he came back out and was a starter in their second half, which, again, it's all speculation at this point, and we've been speculating and speculating and speculating, but now it's a matter of which one do I believe the most? For me, most of this period, I've said this is Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen pointing at Daniel Jones and saying, "See how many games he's losing for us. He's the reason we're losing," and they're holding him up and saying we're giving him every opportunity to succeed now, and he's not. And they're showing that to John Mara and to convince John Mara. I don't know how much more convincing do you need if you're John Mara? I don't think you need any more convincing. Even when the guy is doing what he did, last week against the Commanders, he was the highest graded Giant according to PFF against the Commanders last week, 91.5 grade. It was the third highest graded game by a quarterback in week 9 and the second highest graded game of his career. He also won the Angry Run Scepter awarded by Kyle Brandt on Good Morning Football. We lost. We still lost. Oh, and there are plenty of good quarterbacks that have played on losing teams. I mean, Vinny Testaverde, Dan Marino, like there's plenty of quarterbacks you can point to and say they are not the reason that you're losing games. And it's funny. It's like it's either we're losing games because of Daniel Jones or we're losing games because of the defense. So it's not obviously not 100% on Daniel Jones, but he's a major reason why we're not winning games. And so that leads me to believe now that maybe all three, Daboll, Schoen, and Mara are saying themselves, well, we're saying Daniel gives us our best chance to win, but really he gives us our best chance to lose and to get us a higher pick to get the quarterback you want. People keep bringing up Cam Ward. I kind of half watched my first Miami game and they lost to Georgia Tech. So I don't know if I'm bad luck or what, but like Miami was undefeated 9-0 going against Georgia Tech unranked, who was 5-4 or something like that. And Georgia Tech beat Miami. And you look at Cam Ward's stat line, it was like, it's okay. But like, was he able to win the game against Georgia Tech? No. So I don't think Cam Ward's really the guy. This is, by all accounts, most people are saying this is not a great quarterback draft class. I watched a little bit of Alabama LSU and Jalen Milroe went off in Baton Rouge at night in prime time. So my gut says we should go closer toward we should probably go with Jalen Milroe as opposed to Cam Ward. And then you have guys like, Dylan Gabriel is breaking all kinds of records, but that's because he's a 6th-year senior. And then you have Garrett Nussmeier as the LSU quarterback that you could get maybe in the 2nd or 3rd round. Take a flyer on him. But it's like not that impressive quarterback class. So then what is your plan for 2025? Part of me thinks that Brian Daboll is now scared. Like there's the fear that Jones, you keep starting Jones, you keep putting him out there, he's going to get hurt. And we're going to own the friggin' injury clause, $23 million, right? The other part of it though is what if he puts it like we've seen Drew Lock in very limited action in 2 games. One was a preseason game and one was when he came in when the Eagles were up big and did not play well at all. So odds are you put in Drew Lock, it's not going to be any better. But what if you put in Drew Lock and he reels off 3 wins in the remaining second half of the season? Either Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito. Like, to me, the plan should be you make Daniel the emergency quarterback, 3rd string quarterback. You give Drew Lock the reins, start him against Tampa. And if he shits the bed against Tampa and then he shits the bed against Dallas, I don't know that you give him a third shot, but maybe you give him a third shot. If he shits the bed, then you go to Tommy DeVito, and Tommy DeVito is your starter, and Drew Lock's your backup, and Daniel Jones is your emergency quarterback. You're basically doing what Denver did to Russell Wilson last season, where it's like, we have this humongo contract with you, and we're going to owe a lot more if you get hurt or something like that. So you're our emergency quarterback. Just do that with Daniel Jones. And then Daniel Jones will go the Steelers and win a Super Bowl or something. Just like Russell Wilson is looking like, that also gets me, is that you get people talking about how we should have signed Russell Wilson. It's like, well, no one was really expecting this, what he's doing with the Steelers, considering what he was doing with the friggin' Broncos. Like, no one was expecting that. I mean, that's how poorly he played with the Broncos, that you could pick him up for $1.5 million. And people in most teams said, nay, no thanks, including the Giants. So again, another poor decision by the regime. So, it's not like Daniel Jones, the people who are saying Daniel Jones is the reason why Daboll and Schoen are going to get fired. It's not the reason, but it is a big reason. But it's not the reason. There are a lot of reasons that we'll get into that are beyond Daniel Jones why I don't believe that they got it. They just don't got it. But let's see here. We had to elevate Isaiah Hodgins from the practice squad because Darius Slayton had another concussion, and Malik Neighbors was evaluated for a concussion. So we're now talking about Darius Slayton. This is multiple concussions this year. I think he's had a bunch of concussions before that. Another reason why you might not want to re-sign him in the offseason. Again, I've said it before. I'll triple stamp that shit. I love Darius Slayton, but I also don't want to see him, I want to see him have a long life where it's a high quality of life. Like, you coming out and playing ball for a fucking 2-win team, not worth it. And then to see Malik Neighbors in his rookie goddamn season be evaluated for a second concussion in the same season is like, and both on plays that, to me, I watch and I think, how is he getting concussed on these plays? Like, the first one was he's tiptoeing on the sideline. He doesn't get hit. He's just falling, and he hits his like face mask on the turf. And this was a similar situation where he's hitting his face mask on the turf. He's not even hitting the back of his head. Usually, you'd see a wide receiver get hit in the back of the head, hitting the turf with the back of the head, and that's what causes the concussion. This is twice now. He's kind of landed just like on his face mask and has almost gotten a concussion. So that's something to keep an eye on. Graham Gano is back and active. I don't think he looked good. He didn't look like he was 100%. He was kind of gingerly trotting around. I don't know that he was really going full tilt. We opted to not kick a 55-yard field goal with him and to punt from the Panthers 38. A fully healthy Gano, you're attempting that most likely. He also misses the one field goal, which, I mean, let's call it what it is. That's ended up being the difference. Yes, Daniel Jones, two red zone interceptions. Obviously, if you get points there, we probably don't score touchdowns because that's not what we do. We were dead last in the NFL in red zone percentage, but you probably get 3, and you probably get 3. So it's 6 plus the 3 that Gano missed. That's 9 points that we left on the table. And you don't go into overtime, and you probably win 26-17. And that's probably enough for us to say, you know what, was ugly, but we got the win. And now we can go, you can build some momentum off of it. Obviously, you're not super jacked like, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl, but you're like, okay, we did what we need to do to get the win. And it's more of a convincing win than if, say we go into overtime and we kick the winning field goal and 20-17 overtime win for us. I don't know that anyone's really that happy about it. We're like, yeah, I guess a win's a win, but you win by more than a touchdown, which is what I was, that's the hope is like, this is our get right game. to figure some stuff out and to have an offensive explosion and to finally, and that's what's going to propel us onto a 3-game winning streak and get us back on the hunt. And you just lose in overtime. And we were down by 10 points going in the friggin' fourth quarter. Woof. So I forget how long the contract is for Gano, but I feel like you got to say goodbye to Gano after the season. You have to. You got to find some other talent somewhere. I don't know if that's in the draft or free agency, but you have to. You have to move on from him. It's too many injuries. No longer an automatic. Nick McLeod, corner Nick McLeod, was waived because he refused to take an in-season pay cut. He was only earning like $3 million or something like that. Restricted rights free agent or something like that. 1 year, $3 million. They refused to take a pay cut, so they cut him. Apparently, he was like really good buds with Brian Burns. So it's like, I don't know, dude. Like we don't want to trade people because we don't want to we don't want it to be a sign to the players. That's like telling the players that the season is over and then they won't play as hard. It's like, but then you won't give a, I don't know, dude. It's just a lot of weird, bad decisions, It's not to say that there haven't been any good decisions. It's like saying that Daniel Jones is 100% awful and he doesn't play any good games. No, he plays good games. He's just not playing good enough, consistently enough to win and to get you the playoffs. That 2022 season, I watched a video, a pretty decent video on YouTube. I forget the name of the creator, but basically saying he's like, this is the season that really turned the franchise around in a bad way. So this is the season that ended the Giants franchise, not franchise, but like this is the start of the bad run was 2015. So in 2015, we had multiple opportunities to win games and didn't because of our defense. So if we had a good defense like we did in 2016, we probably win 10, 11 games, go to the playoffs. Tom Coughlin probably keeps his job. And we don't have to go to Ben McAdoo. And maybe we can keep Ben McAdoo and we keep the explosive offense going with Eli and OBJ. Add in a little Sterling Sharp. But instead, we go 6-10 and Coughlin's fired. So, and that was the end of that. That was what, pretty much started the downfall. But I'd have to say a close second is the 2022 season because you get off to the hot start, 7-2. And then, we finished 9-7-1, not great. 2-5-1 we finished. So and since that start, we're 10-24-1, but yet we're getting better and we should stick with Daboll and Schoen. I don't know, man. Like to me, if you come out and you win that Commanders game in Washington and you beat the Cowboys at home and we're now, instead of being 2-8, we're 4-6. You feel better, right? But they're not doing it. They're not figuring it out. And, when you lose the locker room, that's usually when you lose your job. And it's like, how does he still have the locker room? How does he still have the locker room? I don't get it. And if you're saying you don't have the personnel, well, then that falls on Joe Schoen. So if these guys are a package deal, are they not talking to each other? Because Daboll's saying, I want Jaden Daniels, but you're not gonna be able to do a trade with the Commanders to get Jaden Daniels. We couldn't get a trade done with Drake May. And this is the other thing. Mortgaging your future and giving up a ton of draft capital and possibly a player to get a guy like Jaden Daniels has played very well and is probably on pace to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. But that's a divisional opponent that you're going to give a lot of draft capital to. We did it for Eli. And it paid off. We'll see what happens with Jaden Daniels, Drake May, as far as I can tell, is playing well. He still makes some mistakes here and there that you can chalk up to being rookie mistakes, but like he's making throws that Daniel Jones is certainly not making. So, but I don't you'd have to give up a huge bounty to get Drake May. You had to give a huge bounty to get Jaden Daniels, but is it worth it? We'll see. But 2022 really, really fouled us up as a franchise. Because like, say you go 9-8, 8-9, and you miss the playoffs. I don't think there's any reason to believe why Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen keep their job after year 3. But I mean, I keep saying this every week, barring something crazy. Well, something crazy could happen. I don't know, man. You go, like, say you don't win another game this year and you start to get blown out, but then you get the number 1 pick. And then what? You draft Cam Ward? And then what happens? He struggles. Like, this is where it gets like really murky for me. Is like you say we do get the number 1 pick. We do draft Cam Ward. He comes in and he's okay. Like the same as Daniel Jones. I don't know. Oh boy. Personally, I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't think they've made the right decisions. And I think first time coach, first time GM, I get it, but I don't see it. I just don't see it. Not elevating Jakob Johnson, who's a native of Germany. They're playing a game in Germany. You're 2-7. It's 1 player spot. Just elevate the guy so he can play in front of his home team and his family or friends or whatever in his home country. Like, just fucking why not? And put him in for like a play at the end of the game or in the beginning of the game, and he gets that moment. But no, they didn't, because it's a must-win game. 2-7 team against a 2-7 team, and we lost anyway. So what the fuck? I mean, that's it's just stuff like that. It's the little things, and the little things other teams do well, and we don't do the little things well, and that feels like a coaching thing. That feels like a personnel thing, staff thing. It just feels like when you're not doing the little things to win, you lose, and it gets magnified when you lose. Danny Heifetz, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right on Twitter, said it's so embarrassing to be a Giants fan when everyone is watching the Giants. Like, yes, this is what I do in my spare time. It's like I do this podcast, and it's like I've been doing this podcast since 2019. And I had to come on here and face the music almost every week and be like, and years passed, and I even did it last week where I caught a little bit of the bug. I was like, oh, you win against the Panthers, and then you win against the Bucks, and then you win against the Cowboys, and then you win against the, and it's like, we're 6-7 and we're in the hunt. And it's, I did it to myself again. I did it to myself. But I really can't I can't do that anymore with this Giants organization or franchise. It's like, call me when we're 500 in November. That's the bar I'm setting right now. I am refusing to get excited about this team until they are 500 going into December. When you are 500 entering December, you have my enthusiasm, but I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be the friggin' Debbie Downer, a wet blanket from now until then. Robert Mays on Twitter said, the ability to accurately and honestly assess where you are as a team is half the battle for any young regime in the NFL. The Giants' failure to do that after the 2022 season is a big part of why they're here right now. So, we'll might get into a little bit more further down in the pod, but that's kind of what we're talking about here. You didn't seize the moment. You captured lightning in a bottle in 2022. And that's why that home opener in 2023 was such a kick to the dick, because it was like, okay, we built something here. Went to the playoffs. First year head coach, first year GM, went to the playoffs with a roster that was unanimously panned by a lot of the experts and pundits. We weren't picked to finish, as a playoff wild card seed, and we did. And you failed to build on that. You failed. You just failed. You have failed to address the insurance for Andrew Thomas, a player that has been public about his injuries and his injury problem and how they're not going to go away, even with surgeries. You failed to address insurance for him. You whiffed on Evan Neal. You whiffed on Deonte Banks. Looks like you're whiffing on JMS. You're whiffing on Hyatt. You're whiffing on Wandale. It's a lot of whiffs. And so my only guess is that they can say, look at the 2024 class. Tyrone Tracy Jr. is our franchise running back. Malik Neighbors is our wide receiver one, at least for the next, 3 or 4 years. Dexter Lawrence wasn't your guy. You can't claim him. Dexter Lawrence was a Gettleman guy. one of the few, but one of the few that pan out. But he's a David Gettleman guy. So, that kind of feels like that's been a staple of the Giants franchise for years. It's like anytime that they do get a playoff season, they completely butcher that draft, the ensuing draft. So like 2016, we didn't do anything in the draft. Maybe Sterling Shepard can be your top candidate in the 2016 draft. 2017 draft, it's like you didn't do anything to build on the success that you found. And it's because, as Robert points out, did you take a hard, honest look and instead of saying we made the playoffs, we're a good team, we don't really need any upgrades? Or did you take a look and say, you know what, despite the stat line, despite the numbers, let's go beneath the surface, look at some advanced analytics and say, this person's not working out. This person's not working out. This person's working out. It's like, you think about I don't know. I think people were ready to turn the page on Eli Manning after his horrific 2013 season. He comes out in 2014, 2015. He puts up unbelievable numbers with OBJ. Then he completely regresses in 2016, 2017. And most of 2018, because you didn't. So it's the failure to address problem areas in a quick enough time. I mean, the amount of corners that we have fucking drafted that have not panned out is astounding. Why? Why is that? I mean, it's time to take a look at the scouting department and say, how many of these scouts have been with us for winning playoff seasons? Point to the players that these scouts have said we should draft and that we have drafted that have turned out well. You need to do a hard, and I understand it's a family business and you want everyone to respect you and love you and be a good boss. But at the end, dude, I've been subjected to so many mass layoffs. I've been a part of so many mass layoffs on the wrong end of mass layoffs so many times in the past 4 or 5 years. I wasn't underperforming. But because the company's underperforming, we have to cut weight. Why are the Giants, this whole we need to have patience thing and see it through? I would be more inclined to say that if we were going 7-9 or 8-9, 7-10. Instead, we went 6-11, and now I cannot see us even going 5-12 this year. And we have a healthier roster than we did last year. I just don't understand it. It's like you can point to a number of coaches with losing records and say they should have won these 3 games this year, these 3 games, but they didn't. And so they're out of a job. The fucking Eagles fans want to fire Nick Sirianni, who has taken them to the playoffs every year. And they want to fire him. And he's winning. He took him to a Super Bowl. They want to fire him. And we're holding on to Brian Daboll because what? We think Daniel Jones is the reason that we're losing. It's okay. I mean, yeah, he's a big part of it, but there's other parts of the game that you can win in. Special teams, defense. It's complementary football. It's not just your offense. Yes, this offense is horrible, but I mean, we went to the playoffs in 2016 with one of the worst offenses we've ever had. I mean, Jim Fossil's offenses weren't great at the start. We went to the playoffs. So it's you still went to the playoffs because you had a great defense or a good defense and you had good special teams, great special teams. you don't have good or great special teams. You don't have a good or great defense. You have like a decent defense that is pretty good against the pass, but horrible against the run. So in my mind, that's not a good defense. And you have one of the worst offenses, and if not the worst offense in the NFL, with a revamped offensive line, with what you think is your franchise running back, what you think is your wide receiver one, and you still cannot score 20 points. Woof. So I don't see it. I don't see it. I mean, you're basically, if you're giving them another year, I guess then you have to give them another, like, how many years do you have to give them? It's just, I've gone over like the history of NFL head coaches with losing records in their first 3 seasons. That's not great. Odds of probability or odds of success, probability, not great. And dude, Giants fans don't like having to turn over regimes repeatedly. I know that, like, that's, it's always fire everyone when we're losing, but it's not working. Saints pulled the plug on Dennis Allen. He was hired in 2022, the same year as Brian Daboll. Jets pulled the plug on Robert Salah mid-season. Like, what? I don't know. Giants did what everyone thought they should have done when Andrew Thomas went down for the season, and they moved Jermaine Eluemunor from right tackle to left tackle, and then they plugged in one of our top draft picks from 2022, Evan Neal at right tackle. Evan Neal's last start came in the game against the Raiders when DJ tore his ACL. Yeah, that's when Evan Neal aggravated an ankle injury that eventually required surgery. So, ACL tear is, I believe, a more severe injury than an ankle injury. Could be wrong. But yet Daniel Jones makes it back and is starting week 1, and Evan Neal, it takes him, season-ending injury and multiple other guys thrown into the lineup for him to crack the starting lineup. But he ends up performing well. I mean, I think he had the highest PFF grade amongst the Giants offense, or at least along the offensive line. All greens, all in the low 70s. I saw some conflicting reports though, so I don't know. I think his run blocking was better than his pass protection. Anywho, Panthers defense, not really that formidable and not known for applying a lot of pressure. So don't know if this is a great measuring stick, but at least it's better than what he was giving us, He allowed just 1 pressure on 41 pass block snaps, setting a career low in pressure rate allowed. So that's good. He faced Jadeveon Clowney on 27 pass rush matchups, allowing just the sole pressure on the day. Jermaine Eluemunor previously started 7 games at left tackle, most recently on November 1st, 2023, when the Raiders played at Miami. So he has a little bit of experience there, probably better than a guy who's never started at left tackle. It's shit like that that makes me question Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. It's shit like that. Why didn't we do this from the beginning? Why did they feel the need to bring in a guy off a practice squad to come in and start at a position he's never started before? What? It's just, I don't know, dude. I don't know. So Daniel Jones follows up one of his best games of his career against the Commanders, in which we lost, with one of his worst. He had a QB rating of 50.5, 22 of 37, 190 yards, 2 red zone interceptions. His 22 completions increased his career total to 1,437. That moved him past Charlie Connolly into 4th place on the franchise's career list. Do not think he's going to be moving up that list any further. I think that's about it for our old boy DJ. Kurt Warner put on a friggin' masterclass dissecting DJ's mistakes, just like, and being so, and trying to be so polite and courteous and nice about it the whole time, but like obviously clearly eviscerating Daniel Jones and his decision making. Quote, to me, DJ has to throw the slant behind to Neighbors, only one that could go for a touchdown. Instead, he throws it behind Tracy. We've seen that a lot today. So yeah, that was when, defense comes up with a turnover, Drew Phillips forces the fumble. DJ Davidson hops on it. We're in Carolina territory. It's even at this distance, it's an automatic 3 points. It's a third and whatever, 7. And DJ doesn't even look at Malik Neighbors. His first read is Tyrone Tracy. He throws behind him. Tracy bobbles it, and Josie Jewell gets the pick. About 30% of Daniel Jones' yards, total passing yards, 190 yards. About 30% of those yards came when Carolina was, for some reason, playing prevent off coverage in the 2-minute drill. And his completion rate was about 50% before that drive. Inside Carolina's 30-yard line during regulation, Daniel Jones was 3 of 7 for 15 yards, 2 picks, a 10.7 passer rating, and a negative 0.76 EPA per dropback. Expected points added per dropback. So, yeah, I mean, he's a liability. He's a risk. And at this point, it's like we're done for the year. Like, you think we're going to go on like a 7-game winning streak now with Daniel Jones? Like, no. Daniel Jones was 6 of 14 for 54 yards, which is 3.9 yards per pass attempt. 0 touchdowns and a pick in the first half versus the worst ranked defense in the NFL. And he took points off the board in 3 separate drives. Through 3 quarters, Jones had 71 yards passing, 4.2 yards per pass attempt. And almost half his passes have gone incomplete despite most going short of the sticks. And yeah, I mean, against one of the worst ranked defenses in the NFL. And, maybe this is the Panthers coming out party. I guess you could say that is like, of the worst teams in the NFL, I think we've had the toughest strength of schedule, hardest strength of schedule, toughest strength of schedule, strongest schedule. So there's that. We have played some really tough teams, Commanders are a playoff team. Steelers are a playoff team. Eagles are a playoff team. Vikings are a playoff team. Bengals could be a playoff team. Steelers are a playoff team. So yeah, I mean, we have had a pretty tough schedule, but I don't know, man. It's just we don't, it's not a strong draft class, and it's not a strong free agency class at quarterback. I think we said it last week. Like, Sam Darnold is the top free agent quarterback, and he's there's been some regression there. He came out, it looked like he could be comeback player of the year or whatever. To that extent, he looks like a Pro Bowl type quarterback who can lead his team to a playoff berth, and, struggling against the Jaguars, struggled the week before. He's getting wins, though. He's getting wins. So that's all that counts. Tyrone Tracy and Daboll. And then the other big note is the flea flicker that everyone's talking about. 3rd and 1 flea flicker. I have no idea why you're running a flea flicker on 3rd and 1. I have no idea. I know you are dying for explosive plays, but I think if it's 2nd and 1, I applaud it. I say, you know what? I like it. 2nd and 1, I like it. Go for the gusto. 3rd and 1, we're at midfield, kind of in dicey territory. I guess the hope there is that if it's not there, you throw it away. You go for it on 4th and 1. And of course, Daniel Jones takes a sack. But like Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary were averaging 4.6 yards per carry on the day. Tracy had run for 3 times for 21 yards on that drive alone. And then 3rd and 1, he calls a flea flicker. It's like, just get the first down, dude. Just get the first down. And yeah, he must have been thinking, well, if it's not there, DJ will throw it away, right? And then we'll have 4th and 1, and then we'll run for it and we'll get it. I guess. I don't know. That must be the thinking. But of course, he runs the flea flicker. Doesn't look too good from the start. And of course, DJ takes a sack, but like Wan'Dale Robinson is wide the fuck open. Malik Neighbors also open. They appeared to be the only 2 wide receivers in the route. I guess Isaiah Hodgins was kind of making his way through the scrum at the line of scrimmage, like trying to make his way through and kind of leak out. I think you look at the replay, you look at like the next gen stats where they have the animation there. It's like he was not open. He wasn't going to get open. They had a guy trailing him, and they had guys on that side of the field where they didn't have anyone on the other side of the field where Wandale was. So, Malik is questioned about it afterwards. He says, Daniel just didn't see us. And it's like, I don't know what to say to that. I don't know what you could possibly be looking at other than he's trying to look at Devin Singletary pitch the ball back, and the pitch back wasn't quick enough. And so it took him a while to get it and to look up. And then by that time, the rush is coming. I don't know. You can't make any more excuses for the guy. It's like, whatever. But disagree with the call. Play call on 3rd and 1. On 2nd and 1, go for it. 3rd and 1, meh. Why risk it? Just because you think you're going to get it on 4th and 1? Okay. So he gets sacked, and then that pushes us out of going for it on 4th down. And we have to punt. Even LASIK, the official freaking account for LASIK on Twitter, got into the mix and said, we do not have any locations in Germany, but we do have locations in New York and New Jersey for any player or players that might need it. Oh, boy. Yeah. Daniel Jones is officially cooked. There's no reason to be talking about, whether or not, if on the fence, no. I think everyone's pretty much in agreement. You got to move on from the guy. The problem is, and this is what we keep going back to. I don't know that they're ready. I think I think it's just you cut them, take on the dead money, and then you get like a 1 year, 2 year free agent quarterback. And maybe that is Sam Darnold. It's just a guy to bridge the gap. We kind of did it with Kerry Collins in 99. Where it's like, I think the Giants, and we're looking at some of the QB classes and saying, well, there's no real slam dunk in most of these, and then they went for it all, right? In 2004. But look what they did. They signed Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner, who had been, everyone thought, past his prime, right? He's past his peak performance, but like can still provide some veteran stability and some production. We brought him in and signed him and drafted Eli. Would like to do that here, where it's like, I don't think we need to force a draft pick in this year's draft. I don't think you force it. You really have to. There has to be zero doubt in your mind that Cam Ward or Milroe, or there's like a third guy. I don't know. I forget his name, but Shedeur Sanders. No thanks. Hard pass. Like I don't know. That's my knee jerk reaction, and who thinks that Deion Sanders is going to let that fucking happen? Deion Sanders hates the Giants for passing on him and for the interview process. Apparently we did some shitty shit to him in the interview process before the draft. So I don't think Deion is a big fan of the Giants anyway. So why would he, unless he's like, I'm going to get back at the Giants by forcing them to draft Shedeur and then, making them sign him to a ludicrous contract. I don't see that working out. I really don't see that working out, but like, do you have that feeling about any of those three guys? I don't think so. Maybe Milroe, but personally, it's like, I would rather bring in a veteran quarterback who has shown a little bit of promise or just needs a new outlook on life, like a Sam Darnold. For you sign him to like a 2-year, maybe 3-year contract, and hopefully you don't break the bank on it, but it's just to get you some average stability. It's someone who's going to give you the same type of, if not a little bit better performance than what Daniel Jones is giving you. And then you get your guy in 2026, because I think that quarterback class is much better. Like, we don't want to go down the same route. You almost can say we did the same thing with Daniel Jones. Like, we kind of missed the boat to draft Eli's replacement in 2017, and we missed it in 2018. Those are 2 seasons, 2 drafts where hindsight's 2020, but Ben McAdoo did push for the Giants to trade up for Patrick Mahomes. My God, if we did that, it would be a whole nother Eli Manning run that we're going on. So you say what you will about McAdoo, but I think he kind of knew that Eli's time was dwindling and that he wasn't performing at the level that he was in 2014, 2015. And that, we do need to get the replacement. And that's why he went to Geno Smith, is because he's like, we need to start to think about the future and turn the page on Eli, because he's not quite where Peyton was at that same age. Peyton, like in his first year with the Broncos, there was 55 friggin' touchdowns. 2 years later, he could barely throw a pass 20 yards. They win the Super Bowl, but it's because they have the best defense in the league. So it's like, so what do? We pass on. We drafted Davis Webb in the 3rd in 2017, thinking that could be Eli Manning, heir apparent. Could not have been any more wrong about that. And then the 4th round in 2018, we draft Kyle Lauletta, who can't even last a season or 2 with the Giants. So we whiffed on potential gaps to bridge the gap between Eli and the next successor. And he didn't do much in terms of free agency during that time. So then what do? In 2019, you force Daniel Jones. At 6, you force him. God damn it. And now you're going to get in a similar situation where it's like, okay, we know Daniel's not the answer. So now we're going to draft Cam Ward or Jalen Milroe. And it's like, are we just forcing another pick? To me, I'd rather go the Kerry Collins route. And I thought maybe that Geno Smith was going to be the next Kerry Collins. I've said that before. I really did think Geno Smith was going to have a little bit of a renaissance with the Giants. And lo and behold, I was wrong. He had a renaissance with the Seahawks, the next team. So it's like Kerry Collins has a renaissance with us after he fails in Carolina and then fails in New Orleans, because he went to New Orleans after Carolina, and then we got him from New Orleans. So it's like, we were too early on Geno. You give him another year and it's like maybe he's, whatever. So that's why I think Sam Darnold is probably your best bet. And I'm not saying like he's going to lead us anywhere. I'm just saying he gives you a little bit better odds, a little bit better chances than Daniel Jones. And you don't have to force a pick that you then feel so invested in, like, oh, we have to make this guy work like we did with Daniel Jones. Then you wait to the 2026 class, and then the guy, that's going to be the guy. Whoever's in that 2026 class, that's going to be your guy. And that's when you can offer the farm and go all in. So, I guess ideally, if for all the Daboll and Schoen supporters, it's like, and maybe that's the plan that they set forth with John Mara. They say, okay, plan A is obviously Daniel Jones plays great and we don't have to worry. Plan B is he doesn't play great, and now we have to think about our backup. And the backup was, well, we should, if it were up to Brian Daboll, Schoen asked Daboll, would you trade up to get this guy? Like, we know you want that guy, but would you trade X, Y, Z, A, B, C? Would you trade all this to get that guy? And I don't think Daboll could say that. And then of course, that's on Hard Knocks. It's when they go through all the top drafted quarterbacks and they say, well, look how many of them are panning out. So that's why we're in a tough situation now, because it's like Drew Lock is a free agent after this year. This is why I think this is why you need to just say to Daniel, thank you for your service. You are going to be the emergency quarterback for the rest of the season. And we're going to give Drew Lock the keys to the kingdom. We're going to give it to Drew Lock, and we're going to give him the rest of the season. I think that's what you need to do, is give Drew Lock the rest of the season. And you say to Drew Lock, this is, if you want to be the starter in 2025, this is your opportunity. You're going to be a free agent. And if you come out here and you reel off, what do you need to see from Drew Lock? Like, is 3 wins going to give you enough confidence to be like, let's run it back with Drew Lock, knowing that he's not the guy, but he's just a lower cost option to get you to the guy. That's exactly what's happening, and then what needs to happen. We do not go out. I mean, unless you want to go free agent plus the draft pick next year. I mean, I guess I don't hate it. I just would rather wait to 2026. So just get a guy that you can throw out there that you know is not going to be a bum, a total bum, and at least make things a little entertaining or watchable. That's the approach, basically. Dan Schneier on Twitter said that Daniel Jones has slow eyes, slow release, one arm slot only, terrible ball placement at all three levels, bad pocket feel, bad pocket management, no natural feel for space, no ability to go off script, and he predetermines pre-snap and locks into read one. Find the lie. Spot the lie. Like what? Yes to all of those, dude. Yes to all of those. To all of those. I mean, him missing Malik Neighbors on that first drive, maybe it was second drive, but him missing Malik Neighbors wide the fuck open for a first down past the sticks. I said to myself, okay, we're in for a doozy today. We're in for a big one. Marshall Green pointed out on Twitter, like, you're paying Drew Lock $5 million, but you refuse to play him. So why should I believe they can identify, develop, and build around a rookie quarterback? And they gave $92 million to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is now 24, 44, and 1 as a starting NFL quarterback. So I don't know what the purpose of starting Daniel Jones is moving forward. I just don't know. Like, you've now seen enough games. Like, I was willing to say, hey, if Daniel comes out against the Panthers and puts up 300 plus yards and 3+ multiple touchdown passes and 0 interceptions, and he has 100 some odd QB rating, all right, and we win by multiple scores, okay, let's go. Instead, he puts up an absolute fucking turd. 0 touchdowns, cost you three drives of points. What more do you don't need to see anymore, dude? You don't need to see any more. You don't. Just go with Drew Lock for the rest of the season. The season is over, dude. You know, we had the window opened up a little bit when it was announced. I mean, Dak Prescott looks like he's going to be done for the season-ending surgery. You know, it looked like Tampa was reeling from their injury. So it looked like we were approaching a stretch of the schedule where it's like, these are winnable games. Every game has pretty much been winnable other than the Philly game and maybe the Minnesota game. So outside of like 2 games, every game has been winnable. And these feel the most winnable. So if he comes out and puts on a show and we get the win convincingly, of course. You didn't. You lost to what was the worst team in the NFL. There's no reason to throw him out there anymore. There's just absolutely no reason. And I think the bye week is the perfect time to come into the locker room and say, we're playing for our jobs, folks. Drew Lock, you want to get a big contract in the offseason? You're up. Hoss. Drew Lock, you want to get that big contract from us? You know, that's the thing. It's like if Drew Lock can come out and play well and play as good as or better than Daniel Jones, you can then you say, hey, you're familiar with the system? Just re-sign him to a very modest contract, because I don't think there's going to be a ton of, unless Drew Lock wins the next 7 games and we go 9-8, make the playoffs, like he's not. Then we have to get into a bidding war. I don't think we're getting into a bidding war over Drew Lock if he goes 3 and whatever for the rest of the season, 3 and 4. Like, we're not going to see a bidding war. You can bring him back on a fairly modest contract. I prefer Sam Darnold, but if that feels like, okay, that's going to too rich for our blood, then, and Drew Lock comes out and plays, like I said, as good as or a little bit better than Daniel Jones, just bring him back and say, hey, let's see what you can do in a full season. And then, if he shits the bed, well, look, we have a nice draft pick coming our way. So but if you here's where I know Mara said it's not up for discussion. Like he doesn't see any changes happening, but this is where it's pivotal for Daboll and Schoen. If you continue to trot Jones out there, we continue to lose games, and he gets hurt, and we owe, and we're going to cut. I think that at that point you gotta cut ties with them. They have to start doing the right things to show that they're looking for the future, and they can go to Mara and say, "Hey, we're building for the future." We don't have it this year. Daniel Jones doesn't have it. Did you watch the Carolina game? That's literally what they have to do. If that's how they want to keep their jobs, that's how they keep their jobs. You say, all right, we know what we need to do. We're drafting a top quarterback in the 2026 class. Here's our plan. Like if they have legitimately unfolded their plan to John Mara, and this is all part of the plan, Godspeed. I get it. But if you continue to run Daniel Jones out there, I don't know what your plan is. Your plan doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. Not after that. The mere fact that Daniel Jones has regressed under Brian Daboll is also not a great sign for Brian Daboll. And we're now in this like proving it weird spot where it's like we're not trying to win games. We're trying to prove something to ownership. It's like, I don't know. Is that the way to coach and play? I don't know. Daniel Jones has the fewest passing touchdowns by a quarterback to start each of his team's first 10 games of the last 5 seasons. He's on the list multiple times. So you have Kenny Pickett last year with 6 touchdowns in the first 10 games. 2024, this season, Daniel Jones 8. 2020, Daniel Jones 8. 2022, Daniel Jones 9. 2021, Daniel Jones 9. 2021, Trevor Lawrence 8. So, Jason Garrett was poison to Daniel Jones in 2020 and 2021. And I don't know that Daboll made anything that much better in 2022. I don't think he made it any better in 2022. And whatever he was doing in 2022, why didn't that carry over into 2023 and 2024? What happened? So Daniel Jones got worse under Brian Daboll, a supposed QB whisperer. Riddle me this. The 33rd team on Twitter said the longest active streaks of games with less than 3 passing touchdowns, minimum of 5 attempts, Daniel Jones. 57 games with less than 3 passing touchdowns. The next closest, Deshaun Watson, 14 games. And Justin Fields, 14 games. I mean, Tua's on this list with 13 games, but I mean, the list isn't great. Watson, Fields, and Lawrence. I mean, those are 3 guys that are probably not starting quarterbacks next season. So Giants are now 3-13 in games started by Jones over the past 2 seasons. Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito combined to go 5-6 last season. So for the people saying if we had Tyrod Taylor, we would be 4 and something or 5 and something. It's like, it's hard to argue with that at this point. But then again, Tyrod Taylor had opportunities to win a lot more games last year and didn't. Bills, Eagles, Rams were 3 more games he could have won. And he didn't. So, and DeVito actually had a 3-game winning streak, and it's interesting that they're not giving him a shot. I think, I don't know. I think you really do, I don't know. I don't fucking know, dude. I mean, it would have to be Drew Lock really playing worse than Daniel Jones for 3 straight games for you to go to Tommy DeVito, I think. And it would have to be, I mean, I think you'd have to be down, I guess 3 or more scores for DeVito to get inserted. And then if DeVito gets you a score or 2 and makes it, it's one of those things. And then at least okay, Drew Lock, we can't bring him back next year. And then you absolutely have to go out and get Sam Darnold. And you kind of have to overpay for Sam Darnold. Holy shit. Dan Schneider, again, there are other reasons to be frustrated with Daboll and Schoen. Some are draft related. He admits that the draft is more of a crapshoot than some admit. I have to say, though, even what is that expression? I'm going to fucking butcher it. Even a blind dog gets a biscuit once in a while. Like you'd have to, I mean, you have to eventually land on some good players. So Schneier says, yeah, so they're summer draft related, but the number one reason to be frustrated with them is their decision to tell Russell Wilson, no, you cannot compete for QB1 with the Giants, despite only costing $1.5 million in the offseason. No starting NFL quarterback sees the field worse after the snap than Daniel Jones. He has no awareness of space where wide receivers will be open and anything off the initial pre-snap determination. It's like hard to argue with. Art Stapleton tweets, Kurt Warner on the broadcast is showing that plays that Daniel Jones is missing, and it's glaring. God damn it, Daniel. What the fuck happened to the guy in 2019? 2019 is just like, at least it looked like we had something, and it just went to shit. Wild. Big Blue VCR, pretty good follow on Twitter. If you're into nostalgia, which I am. He said Mark Sanchez never overcame the butt fumble when Jones went for that long 80-plus yard run against the Eagles in 2020 in Philadelphia and fell and tripped. You know, we did end up scoring a touchdown, but when he completely untouched, just fell running down the field. He says he remembers thinking, oh no, is this going to be his lasting image? And now that we're at 2-8, I'd say yes, that has turned into a microcosm of the Jones experience. That he can show you breakaway speed, outrunning the defense, and just eat shit without anyone touching him. That's the Daniel Jones experience, and it's this is all indisputable stuff at this point. Tyrone Tracy, also indisputable. He's our franchise running back, 18 carries, 103 yards, and a touchdown, average almost 6 yards a carry. Devin Singletary, not bad. Spelling him, 8 carries, 40 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry. Our screen game was dog doo-doo in this game. Sucks. I don't know that it would have, I don't know that we really needed it, but it would have been nice. Singletary only has the one catch for 5 yards. Tracy only has one catch for 1 yard, so kind of butchered that. Tracy exceeded 100 rushing yards in 3 games, the most by a Giants rookie since Saquon Barkley had a franchise rookie record 7 100-yard games in 2018. Tracy's touchdown capped a 96-yard drive on the first possession of the third quarter. It was the Giants' longest drive by yards since a 97-yarder at Washington, December 18th, 2022. Dan Schneier said that touchdown run by Tracy was such a great example of patience, natural vision, lateral agility, and breakaway speed to get to the house. We've found a special talent running back, and it only cost us a 5th-round draft pick. So, yeah, very excited about that. And for people saying, well, this is why it's good we didn't sign Saquon Barkley, because then we get to see the emergence of Tyrone Tracy Jr. And to that I say, yeah, but like, if you could have franchise tagged Saquon again, if you weren't too comfortable, weren't too like excited about the running back free agency draft class, and you can have both those dudes right now, and imagine the options that you can have. Tracy's a former wide receiver. He could be your pass catching back. He could be you can line him up at slot. It just gives you more play. I mean, we're the fucking lowest scoring offense in the NFL. Every little bit of help counts. So like the fact that we could have Saquon and Tracy, my God, it just gives you more weapons. It gives you more options. You're more versatile, and you don't have to rely on Daniel Jones so much, because we see how that works out. And he has the big fumble in overtime and was devastated on the sideline, which I feel for him so much. I think he was in tears, and it's just like inconsolable. And it's like, that's the kind of emotion that, it sucks for him. But as a fan, it's kind of reassuring to know that he took that to heart, that he was just could not believe it and was so pissed at himself, so angry and so sad that he did that. That to me is a sign of like, that guy fucking cares, and that guy wants to be on this team, and he should be on this team for the long haul. And he has the talent to back it up. Like that touchdown run. I don't know that there are a lot of running backs other than maybe Saquon who can pull that off. So, that's something to feel good about if you're a Giants fan. There's not a lot to feel good about. other than Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns to a certain extent, and Neighbors, I guess. Although, people are starting to sour on Neighbors, and it's like, I don't know that, it's not his fault at this point. But yeah, not a lot of, oof. Wandale, 5 catches, 51 yards on 8 targets. If Daniel hits him on that flea flicker, he probably has 6 catches for over 100 yards and a touchdown. So, he would have broken out of that whole low yardage per completion type funk that he's in. Ralph Vacchiano is a former SNY insider, and I think he's with Fox now. He said, I still don't get the fascination with Giants wide receiver Wandale Robinson. A player that's small, 5'8", 185, is only valuable if he's elusive, yet he never seems to be as open as he should be, and he's averaging 3.9 yards after each catch, 92nd among NFL wide receivers. Great point. And I think that's what was expected when we drafted him. It was like, oh, look, he'll be like this guy that we can throw bubble screens to and wide receiver screens and little whatevers, and he'll pick up 5-6 yards after the catch, and it's just not happening. So I honestly think, that's another draft pick that's not going to pan out. You have the Jalen Hyatt pick that looks like it's not going to pan out. So like your wide receiver room, as good as it kind of looked on paper before the season started, is now after the season could be in a little bit of disarray. Because like you have your wide receiver 1 in Neighbors, although the concussion thing is scary. Darius Slayton might move on. You then have Wandale, who has not proven that he can get separation or yak. Jalen Hyatt, who I guess cannot learn the route tree and can't run more than 1 or 2 routes. Isaiah Hodgins, the borderline practice squad guy who's lost favor and is no longer in the mix. Neighbors had 6 catches on 10 targets for 50 yards with a long of 19. If you take away that long of 19, he had 5 catches for 31 yards, which is 6 yards a catch, which is like, why even bother, dude? So, but if Daniel hits him wide open on the slant on the 3rd and 7 where he threw to Tracy instead, hit 7 catches, 62 yards and a touchdown, that looks better. So he hits him on the wide open on the right sideline early on in the game. That's 8 catches for 80 plus yards and so it's like drops, missed throws, but we had a great week of practice. That's what they'll say. We had a great week of practice, but yet you come out and you're dropping balls and you're bad throws, bad decisions. I still think that goes back to coaching, but whatever. Dan Schneider again on Twitter. Eli to OBJ was better than most people remember. It wasn't always like it was in the final year with a lot of slants, 2016, 2017, where it was just a lot of short stuff. The 2014, 2015 connection, a lot of explosive plays, pass plays down the field, winning in all 3 areas of the field, similar. So, we're just not. And I thought we would see that with Malik Neighbors. I thought we were going to get a repeat of the Eli to OBJ in 2014, 2015. I really did think that. Because we reinforced the offensive line. The pass protection has been pretty solid. Where are those explosive plays down the field? We're not seeing it. And when we do have the opportunity to pull the trigger and get it done, Daniel Jones misses. And instead, we're kind of now even after the concussion, coming back from the concussion, we're now seeing Neighbors entering into that territory of OBJ 2016, 2017, where it's like, it's just a bunch of short shit. That's not explosive playmaking, game-changing shit. It's just like, oh, here's a 5-yard out. Here's a 7-yard hitch. It's just like, we're gaining yards, but it's like, we're not getting touchdowns. We're not getting big chunk plays. These are not shifting the momentum at all. I think if you're the Panthers, you look at that 6 catches on 10 targets for 50 yards. That's a win. Jalen Hyatt, 4 catches on 4 targets, 39 yards. He also drew a 43-yard pass interference penalty on the Giants' opening drive. And I literally said this either last week or the week before. It was like, so, all right, he can't run the route tree. I don't give a shit. Figure out a way to get this guy on the field and down the field and vertically challenge guys. And half the time, a pretty high percentage of the time, you're either going to come away with a pass interference penalty or a catch. And so we did that. And it doesn't go to his stat line, but 43 yards, dude. 43 yards. Good teams do that. They know, okay, probability of this being completed, not very high, but the probability of also getting a pass interference on a guy like Hyatt who can get separation and is fast as fuck. Why are we not doing that? And for him to just not see the field at all, that's just wild. Again, and then if you want another knock against Schoen and Daboll not playing Sterling Shepard at all last season, Schoen letting him walk this offseason, and him going to Tampa Bay, getting opportunities and producing. I don't know, dude. Theo Johnson, 4 catches on 6 targets, 37 yards. He made a good catch on that batted ball in the red zone. I think Josie Jewell got a hand on it, maybe, and he came up with the catch, which is great. But, Daniel tries to make another throw to him across the field and throws it way behind him. People are like posting a screenshot and being like, look how off Daniel Jones is. The problem is if he's accurate, it might get picked because there's a guy crossing underneath for the Panthers that probably picks it off. He almost got his hand on it, diving, fully laying out. So, one of many of the egregious errors that Jones made that was way down on the list. Ashawn Robinson, another guy that Joe Schoen let walk. 7 combined tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, and a QB hit. Oh, brother. And then that was just the offense. It was just the offense. The defense was not great either. Justin Pennick from Talking Giants, he tweeted, damn, that really good Panthers offense, known for being an explosive unit, 4 plays of 20 or more yards in the first quarter alone. We said Burns got the sack, 9 combined tackles, 2 tackles for loss, QB hit. Tyler Nubin had 12 tackles, and a tackle for loss. Bobby Okereke, 11 tackles, McFadden, 7 tackles. Dexter Lawrence was, he had a tackle for loss and a QB hit. Nacho had a QB hit. Drew Phillips with a forced fumble. But Azeez Ojulari, I think he had a QB hit, but was largely invisible, non-existent. So after recording an NFL high 35 sacks in the first 8 games, the Giants just won in the last 2 games. Not good. Not great. So I guess we're supposed to get Kayvon back against Tampa Bay. We'll see if that makes a difference. Probably not. Safety Dane Belton started for the second time this season because Jason Pinnock was inactive with an abdominal injury. Belton had 2 tackles. That's another draft pick that doesn't look like it's going to pan out. And that is probably a position of need heading into the 2025 draft. Pinnock's been great, but I do think you have to look to the future and pair someone with Nubin that is a ball hawk. I don't know, man. I thought Nubin was a ball hawk, but we did not intercept a pass for the 9th consecutive game, extending our franchise record. We knew the secondary was a problem coming in. I don't know that we've done a hell of a lot to fix it. And I don't even, it'll be, I don't know, man. Our only interception was from a linebacker. Oh, it's just fucking weird. This is Bryce Young's first full game without an interception this season. Just, only the Giants, man. Only the Giants could let this kind of shit happen. Giants, who allowed 585 rushing yards in the previous 3 games, gave up 104 on 15 carries in the first half for almost 7 yards per attempt. And the Panthers finished with 188 yards on the ground, including a career high 153 by Chuba Hubbard, who just got a 4-year extension. And the Giants are allowing 5.3 yards per carry, the most in the league. The Giants defense stressed takeaways this week after they had just 7 in their first 9 games, tied for 24th in the NFL. And we ended up getting a takeaway, and then we gave it right back. So, assuming possession. We have now allowed 4 touchdown drives of at least 50 yards, of at least 90 yards. 4 touchdown drives of at least 90 yards on the season for the Giants defense. So, for everyone saying, it's all Daniel Jones, we faced a really shitty Panthers offense as well. And got 1 takeaway, and it was a fumble, and we got 1 sack. Sure, it's we should have won the game if our offense, if Daniel Jones just has one play go differently, we probably win the game. But still, the defense, it's like, I mean, the defense should never have been put in that position. I get it. But like the fact that we can't, I mean, like their center was like our starting center was like on our practice squad. And we only got one sack and one turnover. Boo. So Giants defense, barf. Jamie Gillen returned. He didn't look great, but he did have 4 punts inside the 20, which is good. Gano obviously misses the 43-yard field goal, but he did hit the 42-yarder to tie the game and send it in overtime with 5 seconds left in regulation. I don't know. I don't know, man. Like Dennis Allen, like I said, was fired by the Saints after losing to the Panthers by 23-22. Hired in the same year as Daboll. He had an 18-25 record in 2+ seasons in New Orleans. Daboll's record dropped to 17-26-1 with Sunday's loss. I mean, there has to be a reason to keep them other than we don't want to abruptly fire another regime. I don't know that how is this abruptly? I mean, how many losing seasons do you need to see? I guess the magic number is 3. If you see 3 losing seasons, it's just like, I don't know. Reeves had 2 losing seasons, really bad back-to-back losing seasons, and was fired. Fossil didn't even have back-to-back losing seasons and got canned. Shermer, 2 losing seasons canned. Judge, 2 losing seasons canned. Should we give Shermer a 3rd season? Give Judge a 3rd season? I don't know, man. The 24 losses since Daboll started 7-2 with the Giants is tied for the 3rd most losses in the league over that stretch. And Dan Duggan wrote this: nothing about their program is signaling things are headed in the right direction. They are regressing in year 3 of this regime. And that's what sucks the most. I mean, that to me is like the most damning. Is like, let me put it this way. If Evan Neal is a starter, maybe he doesn't get injured, but maybe, he comes back and he's playing at a average level, slightly above average level. Okay. Wan'Dale Robinson is like not, getting big yards after the catch and an explosive playmaker. Okay. If Kayvon is the next LT, if like all those things, if any of that were better, maybe you can make an argument, but I don't see it, man. I just don't see it. It's like Tyler Newman's playing well. Drew Phillips playing well. Are they going to make the Pro Bowl? No, probably not. I just, like Micah McFadden is like a quality backup linebacker. That's like our starter. Like we don't have anyone behind Dexter Lawrence on the defensive line. Anyone who can come in and play well. Nacho's not great. DJ Davidson, not great. Jordan Riley didn't suit up. Elijah Chapman's been benched. Like it's just, they're just Armon Watts they signed and I guess he's okay. Like it's just like you need to, and when we have like $1 million of cap space. So it's like, that's and we're not going to have a ton of cap space next year either. I think it's like we're 20th in cap space next year. So it's not like we're going to go out and sign this huge free agent. A bulk of that is going to go to probably a free agent quarterback to bridge the gap to 2026 QB class. And then, so you kind of need your guys that you have on the roster to fucking step it up or make some goddamn trades. So, and I guess I don't know. I guess if someone's there at 2 or 1, I guess you pull the trigger. But to me, I would much rather take this corner from Colorado. Like if we do have the number 1 pick, take that corner from Colorado. Hunter, I think his name is. Take him. And if he's gone, are they thinking about the backup plan for Andrew Thomas? They didn't have a backup plan for Andrew Thomas, and if they did, it's not working. And they're going to stick with that plan going into 2025, knowing that he's injury prone and that he's like, So luckily we have a bye. We have a lot of time to think about it. If you're Daboll and Schoen, a lot of time to think about it. A lot of discussion with John Mara, I would think, and Tish being like, here we are. How are we going to pull us out of this? Where do you see us going from here? And if if they don't have answers, or if they're like, stay the court, you got to give them something. I don't know. I guess they must have wheeled out the whiteboard and given a really thorough, comprehensive plan that extends beyond this season, where they said, okay, here's plan A, but we have a really solid plan B, and you need to see it through, and we promise it'll. I just don't see it working, but it's like 2013, Eli had a nightmare season. There are people saying that we need to draft his replacement in 2014. What was the answer? Trading up for Blake Bortles? Taking Johnny Manziel? Teddy Bridgewater? Of those quarterbacks, Derek Carr was the best performing quarterback of that class. And, you have Michael Thomas out there in the streets saying he's getting his wide receivers killed, and that Derek Carr is a liability and is not a good quarterback. And it's like, would you have rather had Derek Carr, have Eli start, and then Derek Carr takes over in 2017? And then who knows how he plays, having 4 seasons under his belt watching Eli. 2015, why would we go and draft a quarterback when Eli has like a career year in 2014 with OBJ? And the only 2 quarterbacks that came out of those drafts that are high performing, Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. Both of those guys became free agents. We didn't sign either one. 2016, should we have traded up for Jared Goff or Carson Wentz? Goff didn't hit his stride until last season with Detroit, the season before, and they traded from the Rams. So it's like Paxton Lynch, Christian Hackenberg, Jacoby Brissett, Cardale Jones, Connor Cook. Any of those names really tickling your fancy? The Cowboys selected Dak Prescott in the fucking 4th round. 2017, Eli has a down season in 2016. Doesn't look that great. Is that the time to pull a trigger? Ben McAdoo wanted to trade up for Patrick Mahomes. We didn't. Should we have traded up for fucking Mitch Trubisky? Should we have traded up for Deshaun Watson? That might have panned out early, but then he encounters all these troubles, and now he looks like dog crap in Cleveland. We ended up taking Davis Webb in the 3rd. Other quarterbacks, CJ Beathard, Deshaun Kaiser, and Nathan Peterman. 2018 draft class, and this is why people criticize the Saquon Barkley pick. And, I'm starting to see the light a little bit more on this, because if Saquon Barkley is number 2, available at 2 in the 2017 class, I don't even know if you take him then, because you have Mahomes. 2016 class, if he's there, do you take him? Probably. 2017, maybe. But 2018, this is why, hindsight, everyone's like, oh, we should have taken Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Or, Sam Darnold was available. People want us to pick Josh Rosen, who's out of the league. We ended up taking Kyle Lauletta in the 4th. Should we have traded up for Baker Mayfield? I guess, yeah. But if you look at the value that the player brought to the team that drafted him, Barkley provided more value with the Giants than Baker did with the Browns. That's just a fact. But 2019, okay, we have to pick a quarterback now because Eli's cooked. He's done. He's not mobile. He can't scramble. He can no longer throw the deep, though. Should we have traded up for Kyler Murray? Kyler looks good now. Cardinals leading the NFC West. There was a long time there where people thought that they were going to move on from Kyler after they had just drafted. They just drafted Josh Rosen the year before, and then they selected Kyler. So, Dwayne Haskins was an option. Gardner Minshew, Drew Lock. And then Daniel has a decent rookie year doing things that a lot of rookie quarterbacks have never done to make you believe that he's the guy. So why would you draft a quarterback in 2020? Well, that was the class to do it. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua, Jalen Hurts. Jesus, the Eagles drafted Carson Wentz in 2016. We all thought they were nutso for drafting Jalen Hurts in 2020. And then Hurts is the starter in 2020 into 2021, Super Bowl 2022, playoffs 2023. So And then the 2021 draft class, it's like after a pretty awful season where it's like, but we almost won the goddamn division in a weird, wacky season. Are you going to draft a quarterback then? Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, and Justin Fields are the top 3 performing quarterbacks in 2021. Mac Jones is now in Jacksonville backing up Trevor Lawrence, and he played and he stunk against the Vikings. Justin Fields now on the Steelers. Trevor Lawrence looks like he's probably not going to last even though he got a big contract from Jacksonville. I don't know that he's going to last there. So, I mean, this is where we're at. So, do you really think, and, maybe we did miss our opportunity in 2023 with Daniels or May, but where was the conviction? I mean, they brought up in Hard Knocks, there was a conviction that Eli Manning was the guy. And they had the benefit of knowing that Archie Manning was a good quarterback and that his brother Peyton was a good quarterback. And it's like, but did you, who's to say that Daniels doesn't turn out like Daniel Jones, where he has a good rookie season, but then people figure him out in year 2. And Drake May is not lighting the world on fire, but looks better than Daniel Jones at this point, I guess. But who's to say that he takes the next step? So I don't. Caleb Williams was the number 1 goddamn draft pick, and is shitting the bed in Chicago. Should we have traded up for Caleb Williams? It's just like, oh boy. Bo Nix is winning in Denver. Denver obviously has one of the best defenses in the league, so that freaking helps things. But he's winning. I don't know, dude. There are plenty of quarterbacks that have not been drafted, 1 or 2 overall, that have gone on to have really great careers. Kurt Warner was undrafted. Brett Favre, 2nd round. Warren Moon was 28 in his first season in the NFL. Steve Young was a supplemental draft pick. Joe Montana, 3rd round. Drew Brees, 2nd round. Russell Wilson, 3rd round. Kirk Cousins, 4th round. We can go back further, but I think it's goes sideways after that. But so cut Daniel Jones, sign a bridge gap free agent quarterback to be your starter. Really, if you want to really talk about patience, and this is where it sucks. This is where it sucks because if you don't draft a quarterback in 2025 and you go into the season with either Drew Lock or Sam Darnold as your starting quarterback and you have another really bad losing season, then you're not going to get to that 2026 QB class where you get to get your guy. So, oh boy. Whoa. Pivotal time in this organization. Pivotal time right now. It's never been more critical and more important to make the right decisions. Because you make the wrong decisions going forward from here, like starting Daniel Jones, having him get hurt, having to pay that gunner, you really are entering into some dark territory. I don't know what I would need to see other than he starts Drew Lock wins them games. And we win, if whoever is at quarterback, whether it's Lock or DeVito, wins 3 or more games, I think then you really can point. You can say to John Mara, I think this is it. This is what's going on. And I don't know that you can just go out and sign the free agent quarterback. I don't know that Sam Darnold is going to be the answer and then wait to 2026. It's almost like you're going to have Daboll and Schoen are going to have to go to Mara and say, here's a list of quarterbacks that we want. Here's what we have to give up for them. There's no way the Bills are going to trade Josh Allen. There's no way. So who are you going to trade for? What team is going to give up their star quarterback? I just, that's the problem now is the alternatives aren't great. You're going to roll the dice on a quarterback in the next year's draft. That's they could come out and stink. And then it's we're, playing worse than Jones. And you're well, now I got this guy for 3 or 4 years, that's the thing. It's can you find another Tyrone Tracy at the quarterback position at least? Let me see here. We go down to, all right, 2024 leaders, right? Let's take a look here. I really do think it's going to be Sam Darnold. Because if the Vikings are that dead set on not on JJ McCarthy as their starter, then yeah, I guess you got to scoop up Sam Darnold. Because you look at some of these options on this list of like the top quarterbacks right now, all of them are locked the fuck up. You'd really have to pull off like the Herschel Walker trade that the Cowboys and Vikings did, where you're giving up everybody for one guy. And look how that worked out for the friggin' Vikings, and look how it worked out for the Cowboys. You know, who the fuck are you going to trade for that gives you a better opportunity to win? I mean, Burrow locked up, Jackson locked up, Baker sign extension, Kirk end of his career, Josh Allen, no, Sam Darnold, yeah, Jared Goff, no, Aaron Rodgers, no thank you, Jordan Love just signed a massive contract, Brock Purdy probably going to keep playing in San Francisco. CJ Stroud, franchise quarterback with Houston. Patrick Mahomes, no shot. Kyler Murray, I don't think so. Jalen Hurts, no. Geno Smith, no. Trevor Lawrence, no. Dak Prescott, no. Justin Herbert, no. Derek Carr, it's 33. Bo Nix, probably not. Jaden Daniels, probably not. Stafford, 36. Caleb Williams, 23. You know, it's just like, who's the guy that you're going to put together a massive package for to get? I just don't see it. Yeah, this is like, I bring Tyrod back at age 36. Desmond Ritter's only 20, Desmond Ritter's 25. Tyler Huntley's 26. Spencer Rattler's 24. Mariano's 31. Brissett's 32. Malik Willis. Is that a guy that you would possibly consider putting together a trade package for? Maybe. I'd be open to looking deeper into that, because he played well in relief of Jordan Love in Green Bay. So is it really, and Tennessee has become just a shit show when it comes to quarterbacks. But so do you say, all right, he's only 25. We can trade for him, and knowing that, short-term contract. I don't know what kind of contract situation he has with Green Bay, but that to me, I don't know, unless I'm egregiously missing someone, I think that Malik Willis or Sam Darnold is your best shot next year, and not another rookie drafted quarterback. Malik to Malik. Leak to leak? I like the sound of that. Yeah, so he'll be 26 in May. He's a free agent in 2026. Ooh. So, would you put together a trade package in the offseason with Green Bay? Say, we'll give you, he was a 3rd round pick. We'll give you a 4th rounder and 4th rounder and who to get Malik Willis? He was traded to Green Bay from Tennessee for a 7th round pick, but I do wonder if that value has gone up. A 4th rounder, I guess, is bonkers. Yeah, but you're not going to get him for a 7th rounder now after the kind of tape he's put out there with Green Bay. I don't think. Pretty good numbers. Anyway, that's the episode. I can't believe I talked for 2 hours about this bullshit team, this horrible team. Ugh. But yeah, start Drew Lock. Just start him. There's no reason to keep throwing Daniel Jones out there. There is no reason. We have like less than a 1% chance of making the playoffs. And it's fine. And if you have guys in your locker room or your clubhouse that see him get benched and give up and don't want to play more, well, then you know what to do with those players. Get them off your team. That's like how it works. Is like you need, like, it indicates to the players the season is over. You don't think that the healthy bulk of players in that clubhouse don't think the friggin' season's over already? You just lost to the worst team in the NFL. And now we are the worst team in the NFL. I mean, all right. I'll quickly look at the Detroit Lions from 2022. Look at the Lions from 2022. Okay. Was it 2022 or 2021? All right. Let's look here. 3-point loss to the Eagles in the opener. Beat the Commanders by 9. Lose by 4 to the Vikings. Lose by 3 to the Seahawks. Get blown out by the Patriots. Blown out by the Cowboys. Lose by 4 to the Dolphins. Lose by 6 to the Pack. Or they win. They beat the Packers by 6. Beat the Lions by 1. Beat the Giants. And that's when they went on their little tear to just miss the playoffs. So if I'm looking at the Detroit Lions, and Brian Daboll is not Dan Campbell. So I think we all can agree on that. He is not motivating this fucking team to do anything. He just gives the same bullshit responses and whatnot. So I don't know that he's really doing anything groundbreaking or revolutionary to get this team to win games. But, the Lions were 1-6, okay, to start the season. They had, as I said, 3-point loss to the Eagles in the opener. They beat the Commanders at 1-1. They lose by 4 to the Vikings. They lose by 3 to the Seahawks. Okay, so there's 2 close losses. Blown out, blowout loss. Just lose by 4 to the Dolphins, and then they go on their win streak. They win the next 3, and they win their next 6 of 7, and then they win their next 8 of 10. It just 2-6, 3-6, 4-6. If we're sitting here at 4-6 and we have this kind of loss, well, it sucks, but we're still in the mix. We're 2-7 going into it and we lost. I just don't see, I don't see the silver lining here. For everyone saying we're a quarterback away, I don't think that's it. You still have a really bad rush defense and an inconsistent defense that does not get turnovers, does not intercept the ball. Sometimes doesn't, the pressure just evaporates, disappears, when we need it most. So for me, I don't know. I don't know what would compel you to think that they deserve another season, but it really is it's either Daniel Jones gets them fired or Daniel Jones gives them another season because he's that bad. But I think, if you're John Mara, you got to say, all right, you proved your point. Daniel Jones isn't the guy. Let's take a look at Drew Lock. If you can win with Drew Lock, all right. But there's also the double-edged sword there where it's like, well, why didn't you go to Drew Lock earlier? God. So many ways to spin that and so many narratives. But yeah, the 2022 Detroit Lions, 1-6, finished 9-8. But that team believed and won some close games and looked like competitive and put up 35 points, 36 points, 28 points, 24 points, 45 points, 27 points, 31 points, 31 points, 25, 40, 34, 20, 23, 41, 21. So they were cracking the 20-point barrier way more than the 2024 Giants. So, all right, that's enough of that crap. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like I said, bye week. From the 14th to the 21, I might be doing a bunch of other pods, a bunch of other episodes, catch you up on stuff. Mets might be making some big moves, some big signings, going down to South Carolina for the Thanksgiving break. So probably won't record that week. And so probably not doing a whole lot of Giants talk after this one. Probably not. It definitely won't be this long. I'll tell you that much. It'll be a nice little 60-second update. Yep, we still suck. So, I guess if you're a Giants fan, don't expect much from me. Just like you shouldn't expect much from the team moving forward. And then if you are a Mets fan, well, there could be some cool big signings coming down the road that we could talk about and react to. And then it's going to be a lot of life. Because it's been months since I've talked about my life, which I don't know anyone really needs to know about. or care about. And then lots of movies and TV shows. Just watched a bunch of movies this weekend that were pretty solid, and a lot of good TV out there. So a lot of good things to talk about in terms of movies and TV. Life, not so much. Just like the Giants. Kind of on the losing end of life right now. Need to draft I need to find someone suitable replacement for me. Anyway, adios, muchachos.